The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by former guest of the show and Matt Landowski and Sweet Hand Sports. Our mission at Sweet Hand Sports is to gear you up for greatness. With our top tier gloves, you are set to grip, win, and dominate. Grip your victory and leave your mark on the game. Sweet Hand Sports brings you batting gloves and now golf gloves that are designed to be durable and breathable. Go to sweethandsports.com, use the promo code BONO10 and save yourself 10%. Grip your victory at Sweet Hand Sports. Once again, sweethandsports.com, promo code BONO10 to save yourself 10%. The Ride Home Rants podcast is also brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming product at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of their suppliers are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. He has sent me a complimentary bottle of their beard balm. My beard has never felt softer. It has never been more tamed and has never grown faster or looked healthier. I've been using these products for a little while now, and I love every minute of it. Once again, buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code Mike Bono and save yourself 15%. Next, we are brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood. The Tactical Brotherhood is a movement to support America. We believe that there is a gap in focus when it comes to companies that support America. We want to be the front lines of supporting Americans and are determined to find something worth being proud of in every aspect of our military, starting with the men and women who serve and protect us. Our mission is simple: to unite like-minded individuals by celebrating what makes each one of us unique Americans. You don't have to be a veteran to join us. You just have to love America. Go to tacticalbrotherhood.com, use the promo code Mike Bono, and save yourself 10%. Once again, the tacticalbrotherhood.com, promo code Mike Bono, save yourself 10%. Next, we are brought to you by Deemed Fit, a clothing company brought to you by first responders for first responders. They are a clothing apparel company that helps those who have worked through the COVID-19 pandemic and also for all the first responders with their mental and physical health. Deemed Fit donates 100% of their net profits from the Never Forget collection sales to the Tunnel of Towers Foundation to support those from 9/11. Once again, go to deemedfit.com. Check out all of their great products. All of them have great messages. They fit and look great. Use the promo code Mike Bono and save yourself 10%. By supporting Deemed Fit through your own purchase, gifts bought for your friends, family, and colleagues, or by becoming one of our brand ambassadors, you become part of the Deemed Fit family. Don't miss out on this great way to help and support everyone who has helped and supported our country. Deemedfit.co, promo code Mike Bono, and save yourself 10%. Next, we have Shankit Golf. Shankit Golf is golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We're not going to go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but we are going to give you the gear to help you rock it on and off of the course. Our goal here at Shankit Golf is for everyone to have a great time on and off of the course, and we're going to help you look great while doing it. Go to shankitgolf.com, use the promo code Mike Bono, and save yourself 10%. Once again, shankitgolf.com, promo code Mike Bono, and save yourself 10%. Lastly, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Web Western. Web Western is for those who roll up their sleeves and do what it takes to get the job done. The arrow serves as a constant reminder to be a straight shooter, no excuses, no bullshit, just honest hard work. It's a brand that reflects the passion within us to lend a hand when it is needed, fight to protect our God-given rights, and live life like there is no tomorrow. Be a straight shooter. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I got a great guest for us today. He is a two-time alumni of Baldwin Wallace University in Cleveland. He lives now in the Cleveland area, but is originally from Indiana. We're going to get into all of that for him. But Andrew Zimmerman joins the show. Andrew, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mike.
No problem at all. You are, like we said there in the intro, from the state of Indiana, where you grew up and played football and I believe volleyball there too as well. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and just growing up and, playing sports and all that.
Yeah. So, Hoosier, born and raised. Was born originally in South Bend. That's where my family was, living for the first couple of years, and then moved to what, is truly my hometown, a little town called Chesterton, about 13,000 people there. I mean, if you're on, 80, 90 on the toll road, that's if we're here in the Midwest. It's pretty easy to spot on the exits, but we're in close proximity to Valparaiso, Gary, to just kind of paint a picture for the listeners as well. And yeah, so that's the northwest part of the state. And with, some of the news going on, I mean, who knows, maybe the Chicago Bears are going to Northwest Indiana
Hey,
for
I,
a home.
I can't foresee, I never thought I would foresee a day where the Bears could possibly be moving out of Chicago,
Yeah,
but we'll
I
see
think
what happens there.
I think it's more of a, leverage play at that point. I can't see them getting outside of Illinois, but yeah, that's just a funny occurrence that's been going on there. But yeah, growing up, I mean, was always actively involved with sports, and it was I played, the main three: football, baseball, basketball, and then kind of felt, even though, Indiana's the home state for basketball, wasn't really my thing. So it was football and baseball for gosh, I mean, from when I was 6 all the way up till probably 13, and then just wasn't feeling baseball anymore because when you can't hit as well, it's not as fun. So I gave that up and started playing. So I played quarterback pretty much from 6th grade on. So that was what I was doing, and then eventually found volleyball as my second sport while I was in 8th grade, because the head coach for the club and the high school team that I eventually played on, he coached my sister at the high school level. So just kind of a natural relationship from there. But yeah, I was playing volleyball for 5 years, and for some high level stuff too, especially at the club level. And I didn't really think about playing college sports really. For the, I mean, I had the thought, but I just didn't know how serious it was at first. And that's kind of where my junior year wasn't really the strongest season, because I was the varsity backup. My sophomore year felt pretty much in line for junior year, but did not go as the storybook ending as I would have imagined. But create a lot of adversity for me, and that kind of helped shape me throughout that process. But
Yeah.
that's what gave me the thoughts I may not be able to play college football because I don't have the film. But you know, just put my nose down, got to work, and senior year, you know, much better. And that's where I'm like, okay, this is pretty serious, because then some Division 3 coaches were starting to text me, and then it was mostly those suburbs of Chicago schools that were interested in me at that time. And I never heard of Baldwin Wallace really at all. Couldn't even have told you where it was. But my dad's former boss, Ty Nye, was a BW alum and also played football. And he just kept, in his natural state, just kept pushing, hey, why don't you keep checking? Why don't you check out BW? Check it out. And, they had BW has the best of both worlds, in my opinion, where, it's a very stellar football program. And then I got my sport management degree at BW. And I'm sure with a few other guests, you've learned a little bit about how the sport management program is at BW. I mean,
Yeah.
the opportunities that you get, you're probably not get at many other schools. So that's what was the deciding factor for me in leading, to coming in Northeast Ohio. I was looking at a different school, like I said, Chicago suburbs, but you know, deep down, I just felt that this was the place for me. And I can say definitely 8 years, looking back, I think I have made that right decision. So
Yeah.
that's a little long winded, but
No,
that's my story there.
I mean, you're on a show with rant in the title. I mean, we don't expect long-winded answers here. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah,
good with those. Like you were saying there, you went to BW to play football, and you ended up coaching there too as well.
correct.
So, what was your time like on both sides as a player and a coach at the school?
Oh, yeah. So coming in, I mean, for the most part, I was realistic about it'll probably be it's definitely going to be an uphill battle to, play, especially quarterback.
Right.
There's one guy that's going to play. That's inevitable. And if, you're athletic enough, maybe you'll get sprinkled in there, but that's just not me. And, to talk a little bit about how Chesterton's program was for the longest time, we were a triple option school. So I was a triple option quarterback in high school, even though I was, 6 foot 200. I wasn't having blazing speed or anything, but was able to operate the system and still pass well. And that was definitely one of my strengths and why I would play my junior year in high school. But I knew it was going to be an uphill battle because my offense is just significantly going to be a little bit different than what you get at the college level, and everything's more spread. So I knew freshman year was definitely going to be an adjustment, but thankfully with Division III, you have those opportunities to play JV football. So getting some live reps, that was very beneficial. And then, going into, that spring season for my freshman year, I had an honest conversation with my quarterbacks coach at the time. I had to change my body a little bit, and I was able to lose, 20 good pounds, and was feeling good during spring ball practice. And it wasn't until, the last week we were doing a drill for ball security, and that's when I injured my shoulder, my thrown shoulder, which ended up being just a, grade 1 slap tear, which they didn't say required surgery. So I still live with it now. But that was a tough summer going into my sophomore year just because most of it was just spent on rehab. And I couldn't really get live reps really throwing how I'd want to until probably the first couple weeks before camp. So that camp was rough. And, for a while, it was like during that sophomore year, I'm like, I don't know. And I wasn't gelling with my quarterbacks coach at that time. I felt that just wasn't getting the love for the game anymore. But then he eventually left. But really, it's about the core group of guys that I was around. Like, they still, wanted me. And not that I had conversations about quitting, but it's just like they always wanted me to be around. And, I feel personally that I have a great set of friends, and they're definitely a big reason why I for sure stayed. And then just wanted to make sure that, I was competing still, because you never know at the end of the day. Like, injuries can happen. And I saw it, especially, that sophomore year, we had a starter and he gets injured, third week in the season. And then we had actually one of my close friends, he was our starter for a majority after that. And then he gets hurt as well. And then we're playing another guy our last game of the year. So it's like, it can happen. So that's why.
Yeah.
And by then I was starting to feel much better with, my body and getting used to what my shoulder is and working around it. So I was fine. And I just wanted to stay ready with that for junior, senior year. I was able to get, one game of action my senior year, but I wouldn't trade really my experience for anything else as a player, just because it made a lot of life lessons and, helped, like I said, shape me once again into, who I am, and kept me around great friends, probably friends for life at this point. And while I was in school, obviously with the sport management degree, you get to learn so many things. So I did internships in like facility management at T3, and I was like, oh, maybe this isn't it. I initially thought about scouting in the NFL, or, now it's more prevalent in college as well. But I was able to get connected with, I don't know if he's still with the Rams, but his name is Vince Hugg. He was a director of football operations with the Rams when I spoke with them coincidentally after they won the Super Bowl the first time around with Stafford. And it was just, trying to learn about his experience and what it was like to get in where he's at. And he's like, you're probably looking to being a graduate assistant. And this happens to be a couple weeks into February, maybe early March. And so I started thinking about that process, and that's when BW just offered the GA role.
Okay.
And I was close enough with, Coach Hilbert throughout my, 4 years as a player. And he felt comfortable enough, extending an opportunity for me to do that. And, I'm one of three that from the BW football program that were offered those GA positions initially. There was one outsider, I guess you can call it. But yeah, so I got that. And then pretty much after I graduated that first weekend of May, boom, right into it.
Okay.
It's pretty much no stop from, being an undergrad. And then like 2 weeks after that, I'm taking grad school classes. So, you know, it's pretty much drinking water through a fire hose at that point. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
learn, a lot there with, recruiting and setting things like you think you know until you actually do it. And that's just what I feel like the GA life was. But man, that was a great experience for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely get it with the injury aspect of being an athlete. Kind of similar to you. I was a swimmer from the time I was 8
Okay.
up until my sophomore year of college at Bethany College. And it's because my senior year of high school, I had D1 offers to swim, but I played football too. All my buddies played football. I loved the game of football. Wasn't the best receiver in the world. I was 6'5". I was tall. I was more of that red zone threat, kind of me.
Yeah.
Not that fast either. I say I got white boy speed, and I really do in that one. But first week, we putting the pads on, we're hitting sleds, and hit one, and I feel a burning sensation go down my arm and into my pinky, and I was like, it's a stinger. Haven't had pads on in a while. That's all it is. Played the whole season. Turns out I separated my shoulder. And when swimming recruiters hear that they have a swimmer that now has an injured shoulder, all of those offers kind of go by the wayside. Bethany College kept their scholarship for me. So I went there to swim. Couldn't swim my freshman year. They let me be a quote-unquote manager for the team so that I could keep my scholarship still being on the team and helping them out so that I could rehab my shoulder and get back into it. But sophomore year, I'm thinking like, okay, I was pretty good, but now I got a repaired shoulder. I don't know how this is going to look, how it's going to feel. This is completely different than even though it's at the D3 level. Was not prepared for what practices and stuff like that was going to be like at the college level. Thought I had it figured out. Turns out re-injured that same shoulder that year, midway through the season. That to me was kind of like, okay, this is kind of the sign that swimming isn't going to be in the future for me. Which I thought it was, but I mean, it is what it is. But I learned a lot. Coach wanted me to stay on the team, and it was just like, I got to tell you, Coach, I love the sport of swimming. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old for over a decade now, but I can't be around the pool and be here and not be able to get into the water. Like, that's where it was for me. So kudos to you for being able to transition from a player to now on the sidelines, because to me, that's a lot to be able to do it. I dabbled a little bit a couple of years ago in coaching and swimming, did a couple summer league swim coaching, assistant coaching around here, from anywhere kids from 8 years old up to 16. So it was a very big team, but it's one of those things that it's just like you miss it to a point, but I'd rather miss it from afar now. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't be there and not be able to get into the water. That's just my mindset and how I've been with the sport and everything like that. Everyone says I'd make a hell of a football coach. It's like, I just wish I had the time to do it. You know what I mean? Because I love the sport of football. Everyone was like, you'd make a better coach than you did a player. And I feel that in my soul sometimes, but it is what it is. But yeah, the coaching aspect of that, getting right into it right after graduation had to have been a tough transition for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I originally, when I came to BW, I'm like, it's my 4-year degree and I'll get a job. It's probably every person's mindset at that point. But yeah, immediately going into that, it was I mean, I didn't feel like it was a terrible transition just because it's still pretty much the same faculty members at the end of the day
Right.
that are teaching us. And there's some new ones like here and there for some of the courses, but I mean, I got my MBA with an emphasis in sport management still. It was just more natural that way. So I
Okay.
already had, three or four of those professors in the classroom before. So I already knew expectations with that. It's just the other ones I'm not familiar with. How do I, work around that? But summertime, it was, obviously much easier to get the schoolwork done just because, yeah, I mean, you are going to these camps and kind of learning the day to day operations of being a coach. But yeah, I mean, man, when fall camp came around, that's when you truly learn, what to be doing. I remember, I believe, guest on here before, Andrew Cregan, my best friend, actually.
Yeah.
He and I, we were in charge of a punt return drill, and our coordinator at that time, Coach Nickel, he's still on the staff, but just different titles now. He was not. I remember we got yelled at, on the field, but we were able to, kind of shake it off. And after that, we let go through the rest of the day, and players were eventually in the dorm rooms. Him and I, go grab a quick workout while we can, just because we're feeling it. And we get a call because one of us had our phones hooked up to the aux system, and he calls us seeing if we were still around. We're like, yeah, and then we walk upstairs, and he yells at us even more about messing up the drill. And that's where you get your it's you get your low moments there for sure. You're definitely feeling like you're eating shit a lot as a GA, but that's just where you got to be resilient and then just learn from that. Take because at the end of the day, you're still learning, you're still being coached up. And yeah, I mean that first transition as well. We're dealing with the new offensive coordinator. I mean, which was like it seems like a revolving door at that time when I was a player. I think he was like third or fourth offensive coordinator, and then my 5 years out with the program. So
Golly.
you got to learn his way of things. And
Right.
Coach Orts was he's a different guy. I mean, he is very analytical, has a whole Google sheets that we have to put all this data. Like there's a lot of data entry that you probably wouldn't think of, but it's more common now, um, especially at the NFL level. So I mean, it was just a lot of those tasks that you had to learn and get used to somebody else's teaching. But yeah, and then at that time, I mean, I was the running backs GA, and our official running backs head coach. I mean, running backs coach. He's a part-time coach, so he's not there like running the meetings. And that's where I had to learn some growth as well because first I was with the offensive line. Our Coach Collison at the time, he was, leading O-line running back meetings. And that's where I'm like, okay, I better learn how to, step up and start talking about, leading that group in meetings because we're going to meet at the end, in the season in the morning. So it happened probably, that second week where I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. But and then managing school on top of that, that was definitely that was a new one for sure. Just because your football coach feels like 20 hours of the day,
Right.
18 to 20 hours, and then you have to throw in that little bit of school. Ugh, that got yeah, you had to learn that one quickly. And there was high expectations in our contract. You can't get more than two C's. So, you're
Okay.
held to, some pretty high standards there.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely sounds like a lot, but it sounds like you handled it like a champ. Like it sounds like we know you knew you would. But now you're transitioning into you're now the admissions at BW as the transfer counselor. What does that entail for your career?
Yeah, it's just still helping students feel that BW is their home. I mean, after I finished my graduate assistant opportunity, finished in May of 24, I still, thought about, I'll just do a story time before getting into admissions. I mean, I still thought about doing scouting, and I'd thrown out plenty of letters to NFL teams and even put some of my, grad school projects in there, just showing work that I've done.
Right.
Only one franchise, emailed me back. That was the New York Giants. And it was just thanks, but no thanks.
Gotcha.
So I had to find a job still at the end of the day, just to, because I was about to start paying rent now, darn.
Right.
But eventually found a role with NCSA college recruiting as a recruiting coordinator, sales job, really. So for the folks that are listening to this, now they'll know whenever they get a call from NCSA, it's just a sales guy, if they haven't already found that out. But did that for 10 months, but just wasn't feeling that job for like, it was nice to, talk sports almost every day, but then you're talking about sports you're unfamiliar with. And I knew that I could do something better because it was a completely remote job. I missed, having that face-to-face interaction, like actually being with my coworkers in a meeting setting, because that's just what I'm used to, being in the classroom or being in the office and just stuff like that. Thankfully, this opportunity opened up in like February of 25, and I never really considered even working with the admissions team, even though I had worked as a student worker there, just as a, working the phones, like just transferring calls at the end of the day. Knew kind of what the work entailed, but one of my, coworkers from that time, she was in the transfer admission counselor position as well. And her and I were friendly back then, and like, just might as well see if it would be something, that's worth it. And the more I chatted with, Meredith and Kelsey throughout the interview process, I thought more about it and thought about, why I selected BW. Granted, that's a student athlete experience, but I think a little bit deeper about, what BW meant to me and how that could be presented to other students as well. And it's good that I don't necessarily always have to talk to sport management majors, because I get to challenge myself per se with, creating new connections with, say, our education department or, nursing, other, department like majors that I was never associated with. I was always in that school of business. So getting to meet new folks like that, and then just learning how transfer credits, apply, and transfer students are a lot different than your traditional first year ones. I mean, nobody's the same. So that's kind of with the job as well. I mean, like almost every day is kind of new, just because clientele is going to be a little different. I mean, after I got settled in, it started to feel a little bit more natural, but still, at least once a week for sure, I can guarantee that I'm getting a situation where I'm like, I don't know that exact answer, but I'm going to make sure that I find out. But that's just what I want to show for families, that, I care about BW, and I hope they do at the end of the day out. And as long as they're, we have that same kind of passion there, then I'm going to make sure that we're working, together for that. Because, I'm the first point of contact. It's really no different than recruiting a student athlete as a GA. And that's where another thing I felt could have done way better. But, as a GA, you got so many responsibilities. So like,
just
now
in every different direction as a GA.
Yeah, exactly. So with this, now I can feel I do much better recruiting, just because I get a lot more personal interactions with students for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've always said, if you like the job that you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. You know what I mean? And every day being different, like that's one thing that I like about doing comedy, doing stand up, is that there's no two shows that are exactly the same. I might do the same material and it hits differently at this venue than it does at this one. And you gotta pivot yourself and be able to get out of that. You learn a lot about yourself. I tell people all the time, I've learned more and had more fun on shows where I bombed doing the same material that killed the next town over at the last
Hmm.
show. Just because it's like, all right, I mean, it's not going to work for everybody. Like, it's not for everybody, and that's kind of like picking that right school. It's not going to be for everybody. But having
Yeah.
somebody that enjoys it and loves it, being the first point of contact, it's got to be a huge help to anybody and looking and picking an institution that where they want to go to. We've had a lot of BW people on here. Like, I feel like everybody that listens to the show, if you don't know enough about BW, you definitely got to hit Andrew up here too as well, because I'm sure he has more to say. But we've had a lot of BW alum on, a lot of people that are still working there at the college too as well. So the information's out there, folks. Go ahead and make sure we definitely, definitely check out BW for sure. I want to transition a little bit here for you, Andrew, because now you're currently living in Lakewood, which is a suburb of Cleveland. What are some of your favorite things to do in Lakewood and also Cleveland? We ask everybody from Cleveland what's their favorite thing. You're not gonna get out of that question here. So, what are some of your favorite things there in Cleveland?
Yeah, yeah. And trying to, I mean, can we keep, does it have to be professional or is this
That's
a little
that's up to you, man.
unfair?
I'm not afraid
All
of
right.
anything. I'm a
All
comedian,
right.
so I don't give
Perfect.
a shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll start off with the one thing that I do like for sure as I moved over here, especially living in this area, like just a lot of things are walkable distance. I mean, I'm on Detroit Ave, just off of Detroit Ave, so I mean, it seems like that's where a lot of things to do are. But even then, like it's still folks that are, I'm 26, almost 27, and folks in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, kind of that demographic there. Just starting out there, and, that's what I like. Everything's walkable distance. I mean, the beaches and the waters are from us, and I mean, bar scene for sure is a nice one, especially in Detroit, where, like I said, where if you're it's walkable, that's good. I mean, let's save some money on some of those Uber charges. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Cleveland Bagel Shop is a good spot that I like to look at for, breakfast options. Granted, a little pricier than what you would imagine. I mean, I'm sure New York Bodega is probably going to be cheaper and better, but I mean, if it's, walkable for me, that's fine. I'll go there once a week. And I'll be honest, even though, when we do, go out, like Marriott's is a great spot if you still want to get lunch or dinner. I think it's got some of the best food, especially in Lakewood, but I still got to try some other places out for sure.
Okay. Yeah, the bar scene's up in Cleveland. I've frequented a lot doing shows up that way. I can tell everybody, the bar scene up in Cleveland is phenomenal. It's always top notch. You can't go wrong with any of those up there for
Yeah.
sure. Have not had the bagel shop. I've heard good things about it. But Lakewood is one of those where, haven't had a lot of shows there. I've had a few up in that area, so I know I'm a little familiar with the area, but um,
Mhm.
you can't go wrong. I feel like Cleveland does get a bad rap up in that area, but it's phenomenal. Every time I've been there, I've had nothing but great experiences up that way. So it's awesome for sure. And being a big sports fan yourself in college and in pro sports, I know you're from Indiana now over in Ohio. What are some of your favorite sports teams? Are we still back in Indiana teams,
Yeah.
or I
Well,
can
I mean,
see the
right
Notre
there.
Dame signs right there.
Yeah. And there's one behind me as well. I mean, that's, the first thing to, point out. I mean, Notre Dame and football for sure is my, true number one passion there. Just like I said, being born there originally, but growing up, I mean, that's one of my first memories is, watching the Brady Quinn, Jeff Samardzija, Notre Dame teams. So that's a memory that I always hold with me. And that's, one thing that I'll stay true to till the day that I croak. But everything, yeah, I mean, Chicago sports, pretty much everything else. Yeah. But Bull Sox, you name it there. The Bears are, kind of the even though the Colts are in Indiana, I mean, where I'm from in Northwest Indiana, the Bears are still probably the more popular one. And first NFL jersey was a Brian Urlacher jersey, but you know, my favorite football player of all time is Drew Brees. That's why
Okay.
I wore number 9. That's why I played quarterback as well. So, there was definitely a lot of times watching, the Saints, when they were on TV and they had their, bright moments as well. So, pay a lot of tribute to that guy, Drew Brees, just for, the number 9, similar names, playing the same position, and just, you know, who I modeled my game after, just because at the end of the day, I don't have a rocket Josh Allen arm or can move like, Lamar or anything. That's just naturally how the position was. So, yeah, I mean, Chicago sports, I mean, Sox, Bulls, all that stuff. But yeah, watched a lot of Saints and a lot of Bears as
So
well.
you're more White Sox than Cubs there
Oh,
in
yeah.
Chicago. You're
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're a Sox fan versus the Cubbies.
Oh, yeah. First Major League Baseball game. Our elementary school back, I don't think they do this anymore, but back then, if you got perfect attendance, you would get free stock for the family. And it
Okay.
was the year after they won the World Series. So that's when, the hype was pretty big. And even then, like that '05 to probably 2010 range, like it was a good time to be a White Sox fan. I mean, Mark Buehrle, Jermaine Dye is my favorite baseball player of all time. Paul Konerko, all those kinds of guys. Those were fun. But obviously, since then, we're not, having a lot of good times. That's where the Cubs kind of took over from there, which, for the city of Chicago, that's, cool and all, but I don't like them. You know,
I got you.
I didn't even cheer for them when they won the World Series. I was actually cheering for a Cleveland's team,
I
to be
got
honest. But
got you. I mean, I get it with the rough baseball fandom. I grew up around the Pittsburgh area. I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan through and through. Steelers, Pirates, Pens. Pirates fan is
yeah,
is a tough one.
yeah,
To It's been some rough seasons.
yeah,
We're putting it together this year. I think a little bit. We're having a decent go of it this year. But
yeah.
yeah,
Kelsey had the best pitcher in the game too.
well, yes, Paul Skeens is just lights out.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
people.
But my brother, he actually has probably the more unique fandom than really me. I mean, his favorite baseball team's the Colorado Rockies. Our
Okay.
our uncle just happened to live in Colorado at one point in time, and then just brought back some Rocky stuff, and he was hooked then. His favorite baseball player all time is Troy Tulowitzki,
Okay.
and uh, he's a Jags fan when it comes to the NFL. Maurice
Okay.
Jones-Drew just gravitated towards that when he was younger. And so he's the one that deals with a lot more, sadness and anger when it
I,
comes to
yeah.
sports. But
Yeah. For
maybe
sure.
not now with the Jags if they're not a
They're, they're doing all right. They're
one
not
year
doing terrible.
wonder.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not doing terrible. I get that too as well, being younger and kind of gravitating towards a team. I do root for the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay, because when I was younger, they still had those creamsicle orange jerseys, and just
yeah,
as a you know 3, 4, 5-year old, I was like, those are sweet, and like I
yeah,
just kind of like
exactly.
gravitated to that. The only time I don't root for them is when they're playing Pittsburgh. That's the only time, and for then I really just kind of root for offense at that point in time because both of my favorite teams are playing each other. So like
Yeah.
I just root for a good game and a good offensive game to just see both
Mhm.
teams light it up. But yeah, people are like, "How did you become a Tampa Bay fan?" It's like, well, I grew up in West Virginia. There's no pro sports teams, so you kind of
Yeah.
have to
You have to
venture
figure,
out.
yeah,
You have to figure it
yeah,
out.
yeah. At least there's, the Mountaineers. I mean, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
they disappoint
if
me
there,
every year too. Like
yeah,
I love my Mountaineers to death.
yeah.
That was the school I was planning on going to. Had an offer there from them too as well. But you know, always a Mountaineer fan through and through. They are our pro sports team. Baseball
Mhm.
team's not doing terrible.
That's
We're
true.
in
Yeah,
Omaha, so we've made it to the World
yeah,
Series. But yeah, I mean, I'm just a huge sports fan. I could probably go. days and days talking sports with anyone.
Mhm.
So that being said, and talking about college football, there, do you have kind of a prediction of what you're thinking about for next season's national championship game? It's a tough one this early, but
Yeah, it's tough to talk about in June. I mean, obviously with what's going on right now with the Texas Tech, I mean that causes a lot of parity, and who knows how the NCAA is going to deal with that because I mean that's a solid team regardless. But hopefully they do the right thing. That just means they ban them from playoff. But I mean, I'm not going to say really too much really about Notre Dame because I mean, yes, they should be good, but just being a fan of them, I'm very familiar with what can happen, especially like last year as an example. I mean, yeah, they dropped the ball, those first two games, even though they lost by combined 4 points at the beginning, but and then rolled off, 10 games after that. But that's just how it is. So I mean, if they do their job, they should be in, but um, like I said, I'll hold hesitancy. But you know, the usual suspects: Oregon, Ohio State, or Oregon for sure, as long as the coordinator changes work out. Miami's going to be tough for sure, but wouldn't be surprised if those dang Longhorns are also probably in the mix too, just with what they've done in the portal. So that's college football is kind of a wait and see, type of scenario.
with,
Because I
with
mean,
this transfer portal now,
yeah,
it does make it hard in June to try to
yeah,
predict that. This was 1,000% a Johnny question here to kind of start to round down there near the end of the show when we were coming up with the outline for everything here. This is 1,000%
yeah,
Johnny.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I mean, you never know. Like, shoot, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he could hurt himself in fall camp for all we know, and that
yeah,
just throws everything out. So like, that's a part. Like, you see everything. Like, you go on ESPN, you on three or the Athletic, whatever you do, refill steals, magazine, and somebody will have their playoff predictions already. But it's just college football that even though the NIL has changed a lot of things, at the end of the day, that's the beauty of it. There's so much parity, even though you got your blue bloods. I mean, something's going to happen. I mean,
I
for
mean,
example,
hell, look at Alabama. They were dominant until this NIL kind of put them kind of
yeah,
back in their place a little bit, kind of humbled them a little bit. They're not the powerhouses that they used to be. Still good. I mean, they're not like terrible. They're not losing every game, but see Alabama go down like that was a real shock to me as somebody that was like, who's Alabama playing in the championship this year? You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
kind of how it was there for a while. And I think, yeah, it leveled the playing field, the
yeah,
NIL. And I like that for college football.
yeah. And I was even going to, throw it all the way back to 2007 when, I mean, West Virginia was almost, the BCS game if, Pat McAfee could make some kicks, but, that's why he's punting. That's why he punted in the NFL. Even, South Florida, they were less than 10 years into, being a D1 team and they're number two in the country at one point. I mean, it's just stuff like that. And that I even remember when, Kansas and Missouri, when Chase Daniel and Jeremy Maclin were there. I mean, that was the top 10 matchup on Saturday Night
Yeah.
ABC. Like, it's stuff like that that makes college football, arguably better than the NFL. So even with the NIL changes, people have money, and regardless of the school that they went to, I mean, somebody's going to throw something in there, so it can happen. And you know, that's back to my original answer. I mean, it's just there's going to be parity, and it'll be interesting to see come what late November, early December when they start selecting who's in the playoff.
Really start getting that playoff bracket put together. Yeah. I get excited around this time because I know college football is right around the corner. I love college football. My wife knows every Saturday after about 12 o'clock, like, all right, she's lost me for a little bit because I'm going to be permanently planted in front of the TV watching some college football. So
Oh yeah,
she has to get to me early if she needs anything done around the house. I was like, you got me till 12, and then after that, it's college football season.
yeah. Which I obviously didn't get that opportunity to really watch so much of that for 6 years. I
Right.
mean, because even then, like Notre Dame, for the most part, 3:30 Eastern every Saturday, and I wouldn't be able to watch most of that just because I was actively, on the team
Yeah.
playing and coaching. But if there was night games, then obviously I can catch those. But when I was taking that break from being a GA, you know, working with the high school team Normandy, that was fun because that was Notre Dame's run to the national championship. Watched every single game, which I
Yeah.
had not done in years, and maybe ever, honestly, just because being around actively involved in sports. But even then, like last year, I'd still be able to watch a good amount of college football. So I definitely have missed that just because I've been watching a lot of NFL for 6 years, for the 6 years as a coach and player.
Right. Yeah, that's it's always good. Like, I mean, I have a career too as well where I can, watch, some college football. Mountaineers typically 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern start time, and they're typically early games. The Pitt game's going to be a prime time. They're going to put that game on in prime time. That's the one that it sometimes gets tough to with being a comedian. Most of the gigs are at night, so sometimes you're
Yeah,
missing some of those games. But I
yeah.
mean, it is what it is. But love college football. Excited for it to come around. But Andrew, we are running down here near the end of the episode here. I do got to get this last segment in here. Otherwise, Fitty will kill me if not. And that is the Fast Fitty Five.
Okay.
Five, excuse me, random questions from the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. These are kind of rapid fire for the new listeners out there, but you can elaborate if you need to. Andrew, these have nothing to do pretty much with what we've been talking about for the better part of almost an hour now. So if you are ready, we'll get started with the Fast 55.
Let's do it.
All right. Question number one. The best lunch meat is?
Uh, Turkey.
Turkey. All right. Question number two is surfing or skiing harder in your opinion?
I've never done either of them, so until I try one of them, I'll have the answer. But as of right now, neither, just because I haven't tried them.
I've tried surfing once. I gotta say that's the toughest thing I've ever tried. I never stood up once without falling flat on my face. So I'll go with surfing on that one. Question number three: if you could go back and play football at either the University of Hawaii or Coastal Carolina University, which would you pick?
Uh, let's do Coastal Carolina. It'd probably be easier for travel, and I'd see how the experience of playing on a teal field would look like.
Gotcha. Question number four: what's the worst time on a Saturday for a football game to kick off?
Worst time, even though people loved it, the sickos for sure, but Pac-12, after dark, probably not. If you're a fan of those, then on the East Coast,
East Coast.
not the ideal time. So I'd probably say that. But the true, I mean, I guess another answer is there's really not a bad time for it as long as there's somebody that you root for.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, the Pac-12 after dark, that's just way too late for me to get into a football game. Last question here: your best football movie of all time is?
Friday Night Lights.
That's a good choice. That's a solid choice. I'd go Remember the Titans, just showing my age a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's
That's
another
a top.
great one.
That's a 1A 1B kind of for me with those two movies there. So it's a coin flip. I love both movies.
Sure,
But that was the Fast 55. He threw some sports questions in. I feel like he took it easy on you.
he probably did.
Your
Yeah,
coworkers now at BW, so he's kind of got to take it a little easier on you.
yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, we are running down here near the end of the episode. I do give every guest this opportunity at the end of the episode. Andrew, if there's anything you want to get out there, anything you want to promote, whether it's a BW or even if it's just a good message for folks, I'm going to give you about a minute and the floor is yours.
Life's really just about, making connections and asking questions. That's something I've definitely have learned, along my time, being a student athlete is just, building great relationships with, the friends that I currently have and in the past as well. But the one thing that, I always feel that I do need to continue to work on, I've gotten much better, but just ask questions. I mean, it's the old, Ted Lasso type thing, be curious, but, it rings true. I mean, you're not being curious and asking questions for people, I don't think you're improving or, growing as a person. So that's just the thing is as long as you got a, great support system around you and you're finding new things to, challenge your knowledge, I think you'll be in a good spot. But that's really all I have. And then hopefully if there's any folks that have kids that are at the college level, start looking into BW. Even if you're in Colorado, I mean, my first freshman roommate, he's from Denver, Colorado. So BW will always have a home for somebody, even if you're not from Ohio.
Awesome. I do love it when guests have a good message at the end of the show. And that quote and that scene from Ted Lasso, the Be Curious when he's playing darts, is by far my favorite scene out of that entire series, for sure, because it just rings so true. But on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to thank my guest, Andrew Zimmerman, for joining. This was a lot of fun to get to sit, talk a little bit of sports, and to learn a little bit more about you and more about BW. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week. The Ride Home Rants podcast wants to thank you for listening and let everybody know that we do offer monthly subscriptions to help support the show in other ways other than listening and downloading each episode. What you will get with each subscription is you will get bonus episodes that aren't released to everybody. You will also have a chance to ask me anything each and every month where I will put out a special episode just to answer your questions. You will also get more exclusive content that is not released to everybody. To subscribe to the show, go and click on the link in the description of this episode, and I look forward to your added support and to help us keep this show going.